Hey,
There we go. Yay, we're recording. So this is a mentoring session in havening and whatever else it turns out to be. We are not fixed in our mindset. It could be turned into something completely different. But I am Ulf Sandström, and I'm a havening trainer from Sweden.
and I guess I'm Marianna Hartsong, and I'm in Sedona, Arizona, and I'm on a new adventure.
There you go. And your guess is as good as mine. We need that's all we can do. We can guess who we are at any given moment.
Right.
So, uh, so what happened was this. I came into havening from working with trauma with tapping, the same thing that brought Rudin into havening because he was researching tapping and his
Right.
research brought him into the neurobiological model of the primer of when the past is always present. And he kindly invited me and my colleague Gunilla to come with him and learn havening and compare our notes because we have a lot of practical hands-on experience of working with very vulnerable populations.
Hmm.
So genocide survivors in Rwanda, child soldiers liberated in Congo, women victims of gender-based violence, etc., refugees of war, victims of torture. And we kind of have an approach that fit well with the havening community. I find it's a nice community uh, to work with. People are both scientific and woo woo, as my friends in California would say. So
That's the
you're
attraction. That's the attraction.
yeah, I mean it is because you say it's body and soul, and the soul is not something we put under a microscope, but the body we can, and then we
And
can guess.
I have been doing Gary Craig's tapping for 20 years. That's been my
Okay,
main approach. I'm valued as the prime trauma person in our team here.
cool.
So my trauma is that I work with mostly is sexual trauma, trauma of infidelity in couples, not anywhere near the level of trauma that you've worked with, although I've worked with San Quentin inmates
Yep.
who found us after they got out. I mean, it's
Wow.
been wonderful.
Oh, after they came out, yeah. Did you work
Yeah.
in the prisons as well?
Years and years ago in Kingston, Ontario, where I lived, I worked with people who were in for 10 years or more, so murder or whatever.
Yeah.
And uh, they actually paid me for 1 year minimally. I did Sufi dancing with them. I taught them foot massage. I mean, I did things that you never do in prison. And had some wonderful success stories. And the next year, they gave my stipend to somebody to research psychosis in prison. And I thought, well, too bad.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from these gentlemen, and I realized for the first time in my life that some of our most creative and gifted souls who just haven't learned how to play the game called living in this world get into our
I like
prison.
the way you put that. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is, to play the
right.
game of living in this world.
And they end up in our psychiatric institutions and in our prisons. And I've
Yeah.
never gone into that deep, but I have that edge. So
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the way it works in Havening Org is that you can train for anybody and you could be mentored by anybody. And the whole idea is that we're kind of a collective, it's a collective growth. So it's kind of organic growth. And I am not your, I'm not a letter by the letter Havener. I don't I know the rules, but I choose to break them uh,
good.
because, yeah, because my experience sometimes tells me that it works better.
Right, right.
So I'm not opposed to anything that is in the teachings of Havening. It's just that when I teach it, some prefer to first teach Havening and only event Havening, and from there they move on into other things before they start putting in other stuff. And I start from the other direction. Me,
Mhm.
me and my colleague Gunilla, we train people. We maybe only have 1 hour to train people to help severely traumatized populations,
Right.
and we cannot
That's
care
the
if they know
that's
the theory.
that's your TTT stuff.
Yeah, the TT. Well, we teach Havening as well in the same. So And so we cannot, we don't have the luxury of saying you should know the science or you should go step by step. So what we do is we turn it around and we say, what are the most important pieces to have in place to be able
Mhm.
to safely help another human, regardless of your training or knowledge, so that you do no harm, but you do well. So that's why we call what we do is emotional first aid. So the main thing of a session for me, it starts before the session starts.
Mhm.
So it's not about the science. I know people, and I could do a Socratic questioning here. I could say, uh, is it theoretically possible for somebody who has no idea about the science to still be a great trauma treater? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Is it possible for somebody uh, to be a great trauma treater without knowing why? And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Yeah.
So, so does knowing the science guarantee that you're
No.
a great Havener? No. So this, but the science is still what got me hooked on Havening, because finally, with all these different treatments, shamanic treatments, and all these wonderful things that people have been doing for thousands of years, all of a sudden there is something here that allows us to observe, quantify, and explain to anybody, including somebody who is involved in science. And
Right.
those are the people we need to reach, because they run the hospitals and they run the legislations, and that's good. So I am a fan of the science of havening at the same time. But if I'm teaching somebody, it's more important to me that they do it for the right reason, that they know the basic rules. Like if you're going to be cooking food, what's the first thing you teach a child that's going to be cooking food?
Don't touch the hot stove.
Yes, so they don't hurt themselves. And what's the
Right.
second thing you tell them?
For me, it would not be measure this way, this way, this way, but use your intuition.
Yes. What about basic hygiene? What will you tell a child before they start, touching
Oh,
food?
probably good to wash their hands and make sure the da is clean. Yeah.
Yeah, because what would happen otherwise?
Well, actually, we need dirt.
Yeah.
That's
What
part
could
of our immune system.
It is. But what could happen if we're unlucky and they bring something very unclean into the kitchen?
Oh, yes, you could get salmonella poisoning. You could get E. coli. You could get all sorts of stuff. Right.
Right. So the one thing that I first bring into any havening session has nothing to do with havening. It's called clean language, and it's more of an attitude, and it's also a method. Are you familiar with it?
Well, I listened to yours and whatever her name's
Judy
conversation
Reese?
about what?
Judy Reese?
Judy Lee, yes. And I got her book. I've started reading it. It hasn't resonated deeply yet. That is, I haven't understood where it's coming from yet.
So
But that's
let's just take a quick look at that.
okay.
So a clean approach means assume nothing. So this person says, I was raped. So it's not, I'm sorry. It's not, that's sad. It's not, that's good. It's not, oh, I can't touch you, or can I touch you? It's just absolutely nothing. You assume nothing. You walk into the client as a clean piece of paper, a know nothing state of John Grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use the words of the person. So that way you keep clean. So if they say, I was zonked out yesterday, you say, oh, you were tired. And all of a sudden, you've unclean the whole discussion. But if you say, oh, zonked, you use the exact word they used, then you know that they will feel heard and seen and understood. And the third thing is ask for no details unless they offer them. So I was raped. Okay, you were raped. So how does that affect you today? What situation today is uncomfortable, or in some other way not the way you would like it to be because of that? And that would be a very clean approach. And then the fourth thing is to normalize neutrally. And normalizing neutrally is to keep detached emotionally so that nothing of my assumed emotions will be brought into this. So they go, I was raped, so I feel a lot of anger, and sometimes I have anxiety. And you go, yeah, of course you do.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, most people who have their rights infringed physically or feel abused will feel anger, and that's perfectly normal. And then when we talk about it, they start telling their story, and I tell them politely, I'm happy to receive your story if nobody has received it. I mean, you're getting the recording as well, so don't worry. So I'm happy, to hear your story if you need to give it to me, but I really don't need it to help you. Some people
Ah,
tell their story a million times and nothing has helped. It just becomes worse. It's like digging in a wound. Look at my infected wound here. Oh, let's poke around at it. You know, tell me instead, what would you like to have happen next? And that is a clean language phrase. What would you like to have happen next? And that is about gearing the brain from a defense state into an explore state. So these are the five main pillars of a clean approach for me. So if it was cooking, I would say, use your senses, keep your hands clean, don't burn stuff, don't get hurt, watch out for the knives. But when it comes to therapy or therapeutic help or coaching, this would be my five go-to.
beautiful. That was very clean. That was very clear.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Now, you're so experienced because you've been doing tapping, you've been working with trauma, and you've been doing havening now. So I'm going to give you like a little um, VIP lane fly through on what I think are the most important things. And from there, we'll just pause and you tell me if this is useful or not. Okay. Does that
Sounds
make
good.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So before a session with whoever it is and why ever you're doing it, you close your eyes. And this is what I do with the client. I tell the client, close your eyes and tell me how it feels. Because the thing is this, havening is exposure to therapy. The intellect is not of interest. If they cannot connect emotionally to the trauma, there is no AMPA receptor active. So
Right.
they can tell me, I was a child and this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. I go, okay, but now close your eyes. And that's part of compliance. That's hypnotic compliance. If they agree to close their eyes, they're wanting to be helped and they're allowing you to lead the dance, the therapeutic tango.
Hmm.
But if they don't close their eyes, it could mean two things. One, they're not ready. They don't have confidence in you or the situation. Or two, uh, the moment they close their eyes, the trauma is so intense that boom.
Right.
So I usually ask, would it be okay for you to close your eyes?
Yeah.
And if you can't close your eyes, tell me, how does it feel? Where is it in your body? Does it have a shape or direction? Now,
Hmm.
this is part about coming into a trance, because a trance is when you focus inwards rather than outwards, and when you direct your attention to specific locations in your being, disregarding everything else. So here I will find out if they're dissociated or not. I'll find out if they have access to their feelings. They're going to be like, yeah, it's everywhere. Or they're going to be, it's more in my belly, and it kind of moves to the right. And, it feels like clay. And already there, I have so many things to work with. Or they just say, I don't know. Then I ask them to tell me from 0 to 10. And I say 10 is unbearable and 0 is neutral.
Ah, that's a nice way of saying it.
Yes. Because I want them to really think about it. And then from here, and actually my note on my paper looks like this. I draw a body, not this detail, but I just draw a body and I put a cross on the belly, saying 7, and over the chest going 3. Because this is what we want to get away from. And this is what I can check after the session if it worked.
That is very simple. I
Yes.
scribble, and then I have to read
I,
my scribblings.
I love I love simple.
I get that.
So this is what my notes look like.
Nah, I can't read it.
Okay. So basically,
Maybe
this is a
it,
whole session.
it's all blurry.
Okay. Uh,
Put it closer, maybe?
no, it's out of
No?
focus. I can show you one later. I can take a picture of it and send it to you. But it's a
Okay.
picture of the body and it's two triangles and that's all there is. And I just need some words from the client. So the thing in your belly, give me a word for it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. Give me a name or a sign, or you can say clay, or you can say John, or you can say teens, or you can say primary school. Just give me a word so that I can access it. That's the handle I need to
Mm-hmm.
bring those AMPA receptors into play.
Right.
So that's what I do before a session. And then we do the session. So, once we found that, we're going to go, all right. So, and I usually start doing hand havening before we even start talking because I don't know if they're going to flip, go into flooding. I don't know if they're compliant. And as we talk, if they do this during the whole session, let's sit down and I want to hear your story. But before we start, can we just do this? Now,
Mm-hmm.
this tells me so many things. First of all, I'm generating a delta wave. I'm starting the therapeutic process. I'm opening calcineurin channels in the RAMPA receptors. But also when I ask them and they say, oh, I was abused as a child and there was this rape that happened in a park and look at my hands now. And then I go, yeah, but is there anything else in your life? No, nothing else, but their hands stopped. So there is something else because the moment that they get stuck, their hands will stop. So this is just my barometer. So I'm going, and they go, yeah, I was in therapy a while, but that was about my mother. And I'm totally over that. Totally over that. That we don't have to go there. Exactly. So I go, yeah, and maybe we do. So anything that comes up
I
is
love that.
probably,
I love
yeah.
that. That had not occurred to me. I love it. I love it. That makes so much sense.
And I tell them, imagine you have a glass pearl between your hands. You don't want to crush it. You don't want to drop it. Right. And then I say, if you want to, you can just wiggle a little back and forth like this. And you know why? It's like a grandfather's clock. But because when you're traumatized, you get stiff and your muscles go into defense position. So if you're doing this, you're already getting rid of a little bit of trauma. So I sit the same way in front of them, like we're doing now. And then we start talking, and I start using whatever they said. So stomach, clay, 7. All right. Say after me, clay 7. All right. Can you find a memory that, relates to clay 7 in your belly? If there was a person, could you put a face on it? And they're going, no. Okay. And if you could, what would it be? Oh, that would be my little brother. And so we kind of play through it, but this is actually transformational havening because we're
Right.
doing it with a feeling instead of an event, right?
Yeah.
And people ask me, should I do transpirational? Should I do event havening? And which one should I start with? And I was told that event havening is so much easier than transpirational. But then on the other hand, I don't know if I should. I go, stop. Stop right there. Any emotion will have happened at some point. So there will be an event or multiple events.
Right.
Any event that creates an emotion will be linked to other emotions and other events. So you're not doing either event or transpirational. You're doing event dispirational or transpiventoral or whatever you want to call it, right? And all the time, you're navigating, you're looking at the person you're really looking here. This is the windshield of the car, right? And it's
Yeah.
bad weather and you don't want a badger to jump in front of the car and you don't want to hit it. So
No.
you're looking at the nostrils, if they're going to start moving. You're looking at the breathing, if it accelerates. You're looking at the color of the skin to see what is happening with it. And you're looking at the muscles here at the face and you're looking at the eyes. And after a while, I go, if you look at my fingers here, could you look at them with a dreamy glance as if you're not seeing me? Like you're gazing into space and they get this little dreamy glance and you can see it because it's peripheral vision. And I go, fine, keep that and let's continue. Because that tells me they're in a lighter trance and that tells me that they're not going into a flooding. That way we can do it with eyes open and still be in a trance, but I don't want them doing this, right? So after the session is done and
Oh,
we check, so how is that?
why not look around? Because
Well,
my
the thing is
understanding,
this.
you do cross eyes, you're also intercepting the AMPA
Yes.
receptor.
If I'm intercepting stuff, I would use their eyes to calibrate, but that is definitely not havening. And I do it with everybody, but that I do when we start talking if there is an event or not. So if I was to ask, please just go with me on this as if you are
Mhm.
the client now.
Yeah.
So Marianna, do you have any event when you think about it that actually doesn't make you feel perfectly calm? And now I see your eyes are going straight up in the air. So your eye accessing up to the right or the left, I don't care which. And then I go, and if that situation hadn't happened, what would have been different in your life? And now you're going inside your brain going, oh my God, what would happen instead? And, so now you're going from where you want to get away from to where you want to go. And I'm checking that where your eyes are, where are they going? And I could use that. But right now I'm just giving you, the most simple version. So, and then after the session, if that is down, it's changed. It's not clay anymore. It's more like a sponge and it's two, and there's a butterfly in your throat instead of cramp. So I don't say, are you good now? The first thing I say is, what do you notice?
Mhm,
Because I want them to look inside themselves clean
mhm.
instead of going, let's see if I can think about that thing again. You guys go, what do you notice? What's different? And some will say, I'm lighter. It feels different. Some will say, I don't know. And that is a good thing because that means that they are experiencing something they don't recognize, which is something new.
Mhm.
And some say, yeah, it's different, but it's still there. And I go, okay. And what about whatever you thought about? Is that still there as well? Because there's three kinds of trauma. The ones that happen in the past that you need to lose because they're not relevant anymore. The ones that have happened in the past, but they're still ongoing. My perpetrator was never convicted. I'm not even sure if it's my neighbor. I'm afraid every time I leave my home. That's an ongoing trauma. So that can't go down to zero because that would be stupid. And then it's trauma for the future. So, yeah, I know I'm good now, but I'm afraid that when I leave you and the session is over, I will be back because my mother in law will tell me I'm stupid and I hate that. So, whatever. So, we have these things to calibrate. But what do you notice is a good place to go? And then you say after that, so where's that SUD now? And again, they have to go inside and calibrate. And then I say, when they say, "Oh, it's doesn't feel the same way," I go, "Is that good or bad?" Because I want them to evaluate, not me. I'm not going to go, "Oh, that's good. Now it's down." No, no. I'm going, "Is this good or bad?" And so they have to think again, and they always go, "It's good," because your nervous system will always, always, always look for a homeostasis. So it's not going to go from a stuck place to a worse place. It just doesn't happen. So of course it's going to be better. But still I ask the question because I want them to say they feel better, not me.
Right. They have to find it.
Yep. And then here's the thing that we always do in the Peaceful Heart Network, me and Ganilla and everybody we train. Once they say, yeah, it's pretty good. Then we go, can you stay there? Yeah. Are you happy, to that we leave it here for now? Okay. Then we go, congratulations. And they go, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the power is theirs. So, we give whatever change happened, we give it to them to own it because that's empowerment. It's not, oh, thank you. Oh, you're so good. You helped me. No, 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 no. You helped you. All I did was tell you how. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is what I think is most important. And then, basically 10 years ago when we started doing trauma tapping and there was no science about it, we knew it worked, but we couldn't prove it with studies back then. Then, there was a study that actually said by Harper 2012, any points you stimulate over the waist will make a bigger difference than any points below the waist, excluding some points. But basically, that is true. And then you could actually, instead of tapping with your fingers or stroking with your hands, you could be tapping somebody with a banana. It would still work because what you're doing is you're sending signals through the nervous system. So people were making fun of tapping back then, going, yeah, you could probably just tap somebody with a banana. And I would go, yes, I agree. You probably could. Because it's about the framing, it's about getting the AMPA receptors up there, and it's about doing it in a way that makes the person calm. And if they are calm, then that calcineurin will open up the channels and dephosphorylize the AMPA receptors, and they will be gone. So now I will give you my coup de grace PowerPoint. Okay. So this is the PowerPoint of PowerPoints.
Yes.
Are you ready? Emotionally, physically?
We hope so.
Spiritually?
Yeah. That's the big one.
That's the big one.
And that's
okay.
what it's all about. Oh, look at those. Okay.
So here it is. This is the whole depotentiation theory of Ronald Rudin in one slide.
It sure is.
So once you've been traumatized, anything that comes to your senses that reminds you of the trauma, smell, sight, sound, taste, or touch, or a thought in your brain.
Right.
Anything that reminds your amygdala of that dangerous, unpleasant thing that you'd like to avoid will sound the alarm. Now, once the alarm is sounded, you will have a window of opportunity in which you can depotentiate your brain, and that's going to be 10 minutes from when it happened. So there's a window of 10 minutes, more or less, after which the AMPA receptors are activated. For some, it's 20 minutes. For some, it's an hour, but 10 minutes is a good way to regard it. Now, the little white hat there is the AMPA receptor. So within those 10 minutes, you want to apply a delta wave through havening or tapping or dancing or bananas. During 5 minutes, this will open the channel and dephosphorylize that, and it will be gone, and peace will reign the planet.
So when are you going to be a high chancellor or a president or a whatever?
I'm a priest in my own church.
Right.
So when you have questions in the future, whenever somebody asks you or you ask yourself, I wonder if I should do this or that. Is this informational or affirmational or outcome, or should I depotentiate, or should I wait, or should I back off, or should I force my help upon this person, or should I just allow them to wade in self-loathing? Then there's an answer to that, and this is the answer we have to every question in the world. Now, if you run into a situation where this is not the answer, you text me and I will buy you lunch at your favorite place. Are you ready? Okay.
It depends. Got it. I like it.
And that's the only truly scientific approach to anything.
So give me an example how you would do the it depends. So make sure it's clear.
Yeah, I have a person in front of me who was abused by their father. Should I ask them to tell me the story or not?
It depends. I got it.
Should I do havening or should it be facilitated?
It depends. Got it.
When they say it went from 8 to 5, is that good or bad?
I guess it depends on how they interpret it.
Exactly. Do I need to see them again?
It depends.
Yeah.
No, it's their choice. It's their choice.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I like it. What I love about what you're doing is we do not, well, actually our souls do know each other, but we don't know each other before this meeting. And some of what you're telling me is just in-ground familiar known, but you're encapsulating it in a different way than I have. which
That's
is
my
just
that's my
fun.
mission.
Yeah,
My mission is to channel what we already know and serve it up in the simplest possible way.
right. Wow. Let me just turn that off in case it does it again.
Absolutely.
9 out of 10 calls are fraudulent these days.
Yeah,
But I left it on in case we didn't connect and you needed to reach me. Yeah,
that's good. So, when it comes to clean language, and you said you haven't yet totally, immersed yourself into it, I'll show you how I use it. So, clean language is 12 phrases designed by a hypnotist and neurolinguistic programming psychologist working with trauma.
right,
And the whole idea of clean language is to stay out of it. Don't muddle the water. So you have this glass with trauma of sand in it. You want it to be clear. You want everything to sink down to the bottom so that it can become clear and clean again. So don't stir it unnecessarily. Don't add your words, don't add your emotions, don't add your thoughts, don't add your feelings. Provide a safe space for that person to resolve their issues and hold that space for them, because that's what nobody did, because if
right.
they feel they're safe, they can resolve it on their own.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I
So
like that. Do you tell that to the client?
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it depends.
But they haven't felt safe and they don't believe it's possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So I usually say, when they come to me, we need some kind of contract. So I need to know what is it. If you could have a miraculous change before you leave my office, and you get three choices, three wishes like Aladdin, and then I take away two and you only have one left, which one would it be?
Yeah,
So clean language is about having them recognize what a possible cause or metaphor for what they're experiencing may be. So they can address that cause either by resolving it or because there's a resource missing, or change the metaphor without even understanding what they did, and it will still resolve.
okay. You just lost me, and I'll tell
Right.
you how and why you lost me that I
Okay.
know. So I got well, I don't know whose book it is. It has four little pictures on telling stories about metaphor. There's something about the word metaphor that absolutely makes me go into blank.
There you go. What kind
There's
of blank is that blank?
there's fear with it. There's confusion.
What kind
There's
of what kind
yeah,
of fear is that fear?
panic.
What kind of panic is that panic?
It's double. I can't figure this out, and there must be something terribly wrong with me that I can't figure it out. This is very interesting. This is core. Old, old,
Yes.
old core.
Yes. So, what would that panic like to have happen next?
Oh God, let go.
To just let go?
Yeah, I'm no, it wants let go. And
It wants let go. Yeah,
as soon as I say that, I do know how to access that sort of thing. But then
exactly.
I've been sitting since that interview you had with Lee,
Judy,
Judy Lee, Judy Lee,
Reese,
Lee.
Reese.
Never mind. Judy. Names are not my favorite thing. And you mentioned I ordered her book. I ordered the metaphor book, and I love the stories. Some of them I don't understand at all. But if I just think the word metaphor, I go into glaze. And I've
Okay.
had two,
Yeah.
3 weeks of playing with this, and I haven't a clue.
Okay. So Milton Erickson, hypnotist, he would use metaphor and
I met him once.
stories.
I met him
Yeah.
once.
Cool. Extremely cool. Wow.
Very cool. He was a very old man at that point.
Yeah. So the thing is this, if you want somebody, if you want somebody's brain to look for their own solutions to a problem you have no idea how complex it is, then you cannot tell them what to do because you have no idea what it looks like in there.
Mhm.
So basically, they're in a dark room, there's lots of porcelain figures, and you don't want them to knock them down, but you can't tell them if they should go right or left.
Yes.
So you say, stop and listen in that room and try to sense, like you can do sometimes. Is there something to my right, something to my left, right? And then ask yourself, if you were to knock something down, would there be something terribly wrong with you? Or would you just be unlucky? That's metaphor.
Oh boy. I was with you until you said that's metaphor, and then I went out the window again.
There you go. So
Very,
So here's the thing, and that's explainable. Now here's the thing. Once you try to explain a metaphor, it loses its power because then it's no longer a transderivational search. If I say that a metaphor should, what do you do in nature? When you're in the nature, what do you do?
me?
Yeah, do you hike? Do you walk? Do you swim? Do you?
I well, here I hike year round. I go down to the creek when I can. I sit and meditate. I lay down on the earth. I walk in moccasins because it helps me ground rather than putting plastic or rubber between me and the earth.
Yeah.
All very, very life-giving. I notice what creatures show up or don't,
Hmm.
and I notice the plants.
Yeah. So what
And
would happen? What would happen if you did exactly that with your eyes closed?
I sometimes do. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I will close my eyes and walk and feel. It's very hard out here because everything is hard. But there was a time, oh gosh, it was when I was studying with Moshe Feldenkrais in Amherst, Massachusetts, and I just needed space, and I went off and I crossed a wood to an edge of a field and sat down to meditate. Well, it
Hmm.
got dark. I didn't have a flashlight, and eastern woods are very dark. And I took off my shoes, and I could feel where people had walked before, and I could feel as soon as I got to the untrodden part of the pine needles, and I walked my way back.
So if you were to visit the meadow of a metaphor in exactly that way, would you still panic?
The meadow. Oh, see, as soon as you said were I to visit it, I could see and feel. This was like 30 years ago. I
So
could
it's
see
just
the
it's just a
dramatic.
word. You're just reacting to the word actually.
It's the word. It's
It's
the
the
word.
word. So
There's
what if
some.
I what if we change
Oh,
metaphor?
you know what? I bet it's some bloody teacher who got
Yes.
mad at me.
Yes.
And it's probably, I had an incredible grade school. I mean, they taught us about Socrates and Plato. And I mean, they were way, way, way ahead of but there must have been something that happened there.
Yes, because you're only reacting to the word, not the meaning, and you know exactly what we're doing because you did a metaphorical ride into there right now. So let's just call it a meta 5 instead, okay?
A meta, a meta witchy,
A meta 5?
a metaphi.
Yeah, meta 5. 5, not a metaphor.
Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, a
There you go.
metaphor.
So a meta 5 is
You
when,
gave me a metaphor, which is different from a phore.
yeah. So
Yeah.
a
Oh,
meta 5 is when something that you do in one context and that attitude of doing it could be useful in another context. What if you did your tax deductions like you walk in moccasins?
actually, I do.
There you go. But see, that's how it's used. And when somebody, when somebody says, for example, I have such a hard time with my kids, they don't understand me, and you're going, yeah, I bet that's really troublesome. By the way, do you know how to ride a bike? And they go, yeah, of course I know how to ride a bike. Yeah. And when you learned to ride that bike, did you just get up and ride it? Or was it like, did you have to learn some stuff? Of course I had to learn some stuff. And do you ride it without a helmet downhill? Or are you thinking safety as well? Of course I think safety. Yeah. And if you had, if that bike had fallen over, would you have given up and said, damn bike? No, I would get up and practice, of course. And then you just leave it there. You don't say anything else because then it's ruined.
Wow, you just leave it there and they then think,
That's,
my gosh, nobody ever taught me how to raise a child. Nobody gave me any
but
education
if
on.
I tell them, so do you understand that getting on the bike is like when you had this quarrel with your child, then boom, the brain goes, "Ah, blah, 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 blah." But if you leave it open like that, they're going to go boom, boom, like fireworks, boom, 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 boom. So never, ever explain a metaphor. 5.
No, it didn't scare me that time.
I know it's over. You're done with it. So I'll show you the clean language because the main intention of clean language is to allow a person to find their metaphor so that they can change it. So somebody says, I get this panic when I hear the word metaphor. Then you could ask them, what kind of panic is that panic? And you see the formula? What kind of X is that X? And so they say, it's kind of a fearful panic. And you say, what kind of fearful is that fearful? And if you look at the recording of this, that's exactly what I did with you. I asked you these questions.
Yeah.
And then I said, I could have said, and that panic is like what? Or what would that panic like to have happen next? And then we would be going through those questions. And that's what it does. It allows you to find the metaphor.
Well, here's where I got stuck in the book, which is the same stuckness. What kind of X would that X be or whatever? I'd see X and I'd leave. I couldn't make the transition into, because X is no.
X is no. No, X isn't no. X marks the spot. X is where you have that's where you find the treasure. Didn't you ever read a pirate
No,
novel?
X is what somebody writes on your paper.
There you go again. Your school was
Yeah.
traumatic.
Well, everything about my childhood. I mean, I'm
you know what?
trauma queen, but yes.
Oh, not a drama queen, a trauma queen. I like that. Yeah.
Much
You know what?
to you.
You know what? You know what? You know what? A housewife who has just cleaned her whole house, and the kids come back from they've been out playing, and they run in over the white carpet, wall-to-wall carpeting, and she can see that they have stepped in cow shit. So there's cow shit all over that carpet. Does that make her happy? No. So what if she's in the garden gardening and she finds some plants that they're not really looking too healthy, and the kids come running and she goes, "Bring your shoes over here," and she cleans the shoes over those plants, because you realize that everything is useful in one context and less useful in another.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I now, I mean, it was like, I have no idea what that, I get to play with that. Because, yeah, I have no idea what happened, but I know there's stuck places that have never dawned on me as stuck places.
You know why the Earth rotates?
Which way it rotates?
No, why it rotates.
So we can have day and night.
Well, yeah, if it didn't rotate, half of us would freeze to death and the rest would burn, and it would literally be heaven and hell.
Right.
Right. So one more thing now, distraction techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So distraction techniques are just as useful during transpirational as they are during event havening. So I don't teach event havening is distraction, transpirational isn't, because they're there if a person starts going into an abreaction to stop them and simply haul them back, a little bit like, oops, come back, 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 back. And then we start again, come back. That's what distraction is, right? So distraction techniques that I would use at all times. A simple one is counting backwards in steps. I've even stopped doing that because it's even simpler and more elegant just saying, say after me, 5. Try it. 5,
5,
55,
55,
155,
155,
3,223.2.
3,322.2.
And you see, now we're laughing because we realize that it's simple numbers. So we're having fun. And humor is the biggest healer of them all. And the thing is, I get to see how efficient your mind is, because one number you do well, 2 numbers you do well. I did a big jump from 3 numbers to 5 numbers, and I put a decimal in.
Right.
So I kind of surprised you with that. But that's my way of seeing if the hands stop, right?
Oh, did
So
my
we go
hands
again. 22,
22,
45,
45,
442,
442,
446.3.
446.3.
And now I've got you on my hook because you're going, I'm not going to be fooled this time, which means your mind is pushing everything out of there, just trying to get those numbers right because you don't want to lose, right? And
Right.
that way we're safe. So that's why it's a good distraction technique. And then you can say, name 5 cities or 5 animals. You can sing a tune, and singing a tune, I would do the same thing. I would go after, instead of going, let's sing row, row, row your boat together. It's for somebody who doesn't sing, that feels awkward. So I should lead by example. So I go, sing after me. Na, 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 na. Try that. Yeah, you see? And it's kind of hard to be serious now. And that's the whole idea. And then the next step is change all the vowels to I.
Uh-oh.
No, not uh-oh, I. So it's going to be, I can't change ill vivils to E. So say happy birthday with all vowels to I.
Hippie,
Yep.
birthday.
Birthday. So you're sounding like a Scottish hippie. Hippie birthday.
Yes.
Yep, that's what you get for being a hippie. And then we have spelling a word backwards. And the reason for that is when you spell a word forwards, you're using phonetics. So if we spell city, let's do it together. C-I-T-Y, right? City. But if we spell city backwards, we need to see the image. So we're going from audio cortex into visual cortex.
Yeah, because as soon as I did C-I-T-Y, then it was easy, Y-T-I-C.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's also a way of doing that in a nice way. So you're having a little bit of an internet glitch there. You will be back in a moment. And meanwhile, I will just keep fading with these 2 images to distract myself. Just kidding.
There you are.
I was here all along. I just seem to be gone. So
No.
I need to summarize this now. Are you ready for the 3 Ds?
Sure.
Now, pay close attention now. All right, are you ready? This is nothing like in school. You cannot succeed and you cannot fail. You cannot be good and you cannot be bad. Okay? So whatever you do, you will succeed.
How are those 3 Ds?
So the 3 Ds are delta wave, distraction, and depotentiation.
Beautiful.
That's all there is. And you can remember it because 3D means 3-dimensional. So 3D.
Beautiful. So I have a logistical question that feels insurmountable to me, which I'm hoping you can help me with. When I go to the ethics application, they want to know if I'm licensed, which I'm not. They want to know.
You just answer the questions. It's not about if you are or not. They just want to have it on record so they know. A lot of people have absolutely no licensing. That doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
No, it
Oh,
doesn't. They only want the answers. So just, that's also from your school, wanting to answer the right thing on the test so that the teacher doesn't come and, but that was during the Meta 4s. Now we're in Meta 5 and you can just forget that.
okay. That makes it very simple.
Yep.
So actually, I can legitimately train and
Yep.
certify in
Yep.
havening. See, that's
Yes, you
been
can. And you're almost there. So what I'm going to do now, because I have another client going to be popping in here in 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and that's no rush, but I will record this and you've recorded it on your computer. I will record it and I will upload it and I'll send you the link as well.
okay.
And then you take whatever you found was useful of this and you send me an email whenever you want, in a day, an hour, 5 minutes, 10 years, doesn't matter. And you send me an email saying, this is what I take with me from our mentoring session, and this is what is left.
This is what is left.
Yeah,
Oh,
left.
learn.
Well, left to do before you're certified.
Okay. So one more question, then you can go. I would like to send you a template from their template, because it's not how my brain works, of writing up a session
Yep.
and just see if I'm on track. Can I do
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Great fun.
I'm going to here's a metaphor. I'm going to be in cat's heaven working with you.
There you are. That is one. All right. Take care.
Beautiful. Blessings.
Blessings.